I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people, not 2006.
Oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like...
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another NHL Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin. I'm joined by the man that is not in the Department of Kings or Golden Knights, Austin.
Yeah, I have no invested interest, but Kevin, you do, obviously, because whoever this is, whoever gets the last spot in the wild card for the West will end up playing most likely the Stars. It's not guaranteed yet, but right now it is most likely the Stars.
Yes, and we've talked about the Stars' perspective of getting the one, but it also applies to these two teams. And the two teams that I mentioned and hinted out are the Kings and Knights. The Kings, as we are recording, are 97 points, or at 97 points. Vegas is at 96. And this is a huge difference because the Stars are a very good team. They would be the number one seed. And it just gives them an easier path for the playoffs for the Kings and Knights if they can avoid the Stars, because if you're the last team, and anything can happen, if you are, let's say we'll go with the Knights right now since they're in the last spot. The Knights, if they want to go to the Western Conference Finals, have to go through the number one seeded Stars as of right now, and if they beat the Stars, which is legitimate, they would have to face the winner of the Jets or Avalanche, and we've talked about those teams before.
Yeah, and Winnipeg or the Avalanche, for that matter, could end up having more points than the Canucks. So if you get the 8th seed, or not really the 8th seed anymore, it used to be the 8th seed. It's not the 8th seed anymore. It's the last wild card spot 2. You would have to face potentially the two best teams in the conference just to get to the conference final. And then where you'd most likely be matched, or where you'd be matched with either the Canucks, Oilers, or whoever gets that 3 seed.
Yeah, and then mentioning the 3 seed, I'll let you talk about just that type of path compared to that extremely hard path.
Yeah, you'd face Edmonton, a team that notoriously has underperformed in the playoffs, and then you would face either the Canucks or the Predators, depending on who won that series, and then you'd be in the Western Conference Final. But that first matchup against Edmonton, I think, is starkly different in contrast from either the Canucks or the Stars, because I think it's just a much easier team to beat. It's a team that, while they have experience, again, they've known to shoot themselves in the foot. So we also, between these two teams, I would like to say that while they both played 80 games and the Kings are 1 point ahead, they also have the tiebreaker. The Kings have the tiebreaker because of the 37 regular season or regulation wins, while Vegas only has 33 regulation wins. So if it does come down to a tiebreaker, the first and second tiebreaker right now go to the Kings.
And that's a great point to bring up. And you talked about the Stars. Of course, the Stars have a great offense. They also have a good goalie. Sometimes great goalie. It seems like Ottinger's warming up, but if you also go, and then you talk about the Canucks, because the Canucks could still get the 1. They have Demko, or no, it's not Demko. There's Demko.
It's Demko.
On LT. Okay.
Oh, is he on LTIR?
Is there? I can't remember. Or is he coming off LTIR?
I don't know.
But
he was put on LTIR on March 10th, but he still could come back. If he does not come back, Casey DeSmith is their goalie, and he's significantly worse than Demko for this year. At 8.95 save percentage with DeSmith, while Thatcher Demko's at 9.17. Let me do some research really quickly on whether Demko will be back.
Well, yeah, I'll lead though. I think those two, of course, Ottinger is great. But even the replacement for Demko, I think, is better than the goalie and defense situation because the Canucks do have Quinn Hughes, and he was our Norris winner in our NHL awards. So that just goes to, would you rather face a team like Edmonton who has a great offense with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, but does not have defense or does not have a good goalie?
Yeah, it seems like Demko was confident that he would be back. So in that case, yeah, definitely the Oilers' goaltending situation is worse than Demko, and their defense has not been great over the past couple of years. It's getting better, but it's still not to the level that the Canucks are at.
And I think we can talk a little bit about the Kings. Vegas, I think, would benefit a lot from this because we've talked about just off the in out of the studio of how they're gonna get Mark Stone back. This would give them, and they're not really the last team in the West or the second wild card spot because of the LTIR and Mark Stone being injured. So this would just make an easier path for them to return to the Eastern or to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I would say that it's much more important for the Kings to make it as the non wild card position because they're just a team that I think needs it more because of their situation. They are, I think, worse than Vegas whenever both teams are fully healthy, but they still have great players, whether it's Fiala, Kopitar, or Kempe. But the last 2 years, they've lost. Last year, they lost in 6 to the Oilers. The year before that, they lost in 7 to the Oilers. This should be the year where they end up beating them. So I think facing the Oilers for a third straight year, that's tough. 3 straight years in the playoffs beating the same team. So I think the Kings would benefit more than Vegas because Vegas will have the talent pool to beat almost anybody in the sport.
Yes, I agree with you. The Kings is more it's best for the Kings, but I also think it would be very beneficial for Vegas because they do have that talent pool and it would gear them up. It would be an easier road to the Western Conference Finals because they would be basically, well, except they upgraded on defense from what they were last year. And then you're facing Edmonton and then the Canucks. That to me seems much better than having to face the Stars or the Avalanche or Jets. And to me, they could still do it and they could still go to the Western Conference Finals. But if you can, facing opponents that haven't gone far in the playoffs recently, like the Kings and Oilers, I think Vegas would but it wouldn't hurt them compared to the Kings who do not have much experience, as I mentioned before.
Yeah, it's more important for the Kings, but I get what you're saying. It's an easier path no matter what. No matter who gets it, it's an easier path if you're the third place in your division than being a wildcard spot. We can kind of look into their schedule. So the Kings, like I said, they're 1 point up and have the advantage regarding their regulation wins, but they play tonight as we're posting this, the Minnesota Wild at home, and then they play the Blackhawks at home on the 18th, while Vegas plays the Blackhawks at home on the 16th, and then the Ducks at home on the 18th. I think that the only game that's potentially up for grabs is Minnesota could beat the Kings tonight. If that doesn't happen, I'm not that confident that the Blackhawks will beat either Vegas or the Kings. And I don't think the Ducks will end up beating Vegas, especially if we come down to the end of it and the Knights have to win for them to get a higher playoff seeding. So I think the only game that's really up for grabs is the Minnesota Wild potentially beating them because they have the talent, but they're not really playing for anything besides draft positioning. So who do you think ends up getting the third place in their division, and who gets the second wildcard spot?
I'm going to say the Kings end with the second wildcard spot, and I'm going to go Vegas gets the third.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll disagree with that. I think the Kings are going to end up getting the best place in their best place possible, getting third in their division, just because I don't know what I know the Wild are going to try to play spoiler because they can move them down, but both these teams are so close to playoffs, and I think that the urge to not play Dallas or Vancouver will be high enough that they are going to desperately attempt to beat the Wild. And then if you beat the Wild, you're playing the Blackhawks. It's going to be close either way.
Yeah, I agree. And mine's a little bit more hopeful, but we'll just have to see. And I'll toss this over to you to close it out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know which team do you think will get the last wild card spot or the third place in their division, and catch you in our next video.